Okay, let's go on. Next section, configuration section. Okay, here you see only if we have RPM wire. Okay, only if we take the signal from RPM wire and not from injectors. You have here multi-spark ignition. Well, this function is used in all those vehicles that in cold start are sending set of pulses in the ignition coils, making a wrong RPM readout to be shown. Okay, so when enabled, the ECU will automatically filter the pulses in excess. Another new feature, is this one, starting petrol cycles. This function allows to set a number of cycles to be done on petrol when the engine is hot. So when you have gas start, when hot engine, you can select a number of cycles that will be made on petrol anyway. It's useful to aid for the start or to keep the petrol injector at the best efficiency. Okay, last but not least, we've added a counter for emergency start here. It works only if emergency start is enabled, and once enabled, you have here on the left the amount of remaining start. Let's try it. Now I turn off the vehicle, and I will start in emergency. Okay, I start the car in emergency, and as you see here, we are already on gas, you know, and the number is 4 instead of 5. So it means that 4 emergency start are left. To restore the maximum volume, press the reset button. Okay, next page, sensor. Well, here you can see a new flag named Enable Switch Warning. Once enabled, the switch will show us that the ECU is switched over to petrol when it's in protection mode if very cold temperature is detected on temperature sensor. In order to make this feature work properly, low temperature protection must be enabled. You'll see that in this new version of software, we split the old diagnosis page that you see here in 2 pages. The first one is still the diagnosis, okay, while the other one is injectors. Well, another new feature is the ECU lock for service. You can find here in info. First of all, you have to set a scheduled service, for example 300 hours. Okay, usually when enabling scheduled service, you simply will make the switch beep at every vehicle start when the selected service hour are expired. Okay? Well, now you can change completely the behavior of this functionality, activating the feature Enable ECU Lock that is just became selectable. Let's enable it. Now you see an important notice that you have to read carefully. Locking the ECU by using a password does not allow anybody else to access the parameters in case of emergency. Who enters the password undertakes all the responsibility from this choice, both for legal and civil law. Do you want to enable ECU lock? Let's press yes. Okay, now you are prompted to enter an 8-character password. Let's put, for example, a simple password. Let me say 12345678. Okay. Well, now the ECU is locked. Okay, so from this point, every time you connect to the locked ECU, you will be prompted to enter the password, and you have just 3 attempts. Okay, so if I disconnect and reconnect, takes a little bit. Okay, now we have to enter the password. You have 3 attempts. However, don't worry, if all 3 attempts fails, you will simply get disconnected from the ECU, and retrying the connection will prompt you again to enter the password. Okay, so don't worry about it. Okay. Anyway, if you connect to an ECU that you don't know the password, but you want to know some additional information about the ECU itself, simply when you get disconnected, you can browse every parameter of the locked ECU in offline mode. So, I will reconnect. I will try to reconnect. I will put 3 times a wrong password. Okay, so you see that we are in offline mode, but we can see, even if we cannot change and access the ECU, we can see every parameters inside. Okay, it could be useful for some diagnosis and some troubleshooting. Now we'll connect to the ECU with the right password. Here it is. Okay. Okay, here we are. Moreover, it's very important to know that if ECU lock is enabled, when the scheduled service time expires, the ECU won't switch to gas anymore. To let the owner of the vehicle be aware of this with a forewarning, we've added this parameter, lock forewarning. By default is set on 30 hours, so in this case we've put 300 hours as a scheduled service. When we'll get 30 hours before expiring, so when the ECU counts about 270 hours of gas driving, the switch will beep at every vehicle start, allowing the customer to switch to gas, okay, and to go to the workshop. Once the 30 hours are expired too, the switch will beep again at every vehicle start, but the ECU will not switch to gas anymore, unless the installer, so in the workshop, it will be made a reset of the scheduled service. Well, now we can disable this ECU lock, okay, and then we go to the OBD Scan Tool tab. We don't need this anymore. Okay. So, to have OBD Scan Tool enabled, we need to be connected with the OBD systems, okay? So, for example, if we are not connected, so OBD adaptivity is not enabled or frozen, you will see that OBD Scan Tool is not enabled, okay? So, you will have to go to mapping before and enable OBD adaptivity. Okay. Okay, now we are connected. We can leave adaptivity enabled or frozen. It's not important. And then we have OBD Scan Tool enabled. Okay, so let's go on. This is the OBD Scan Tool tab. This is the first page we see. We are in the selection tab. You'll see the list of supported PID of the vehicle. So from this list you can choose all the parameters you want to read. To do this, simply click on the parameter you want. For example, the engine speed, for example. Okay, and maybe air temperature or throttle position. Okay. And you'll see that some parameters have a red flag and are unselectable. Okay, this is because are fixed parameters that are always shown, obviously if supported by the OBD system of the vehicle. So once we have selected all the parameters we want to read, we can go to see the value of these parameters in the Value tab. Here it is. You can see here all the values of the parameters you have selected. So if there are some error present, the status of the fuel system bank, and we are in real-time reading. So you see here RPM changing and fuel trims changing. You see here the RPM speed of the engine, the advance of the first cylinder that we have selected before, the throttle position. Okay, so you can see here in real time all the values you have selected in the previous tab. Well, then we have three tabs: freeze, errors, and test results. They are related because are all part of the error management of the Petrol ECU. Okay, so let's go to see before the other one, the error tab. In the error tab you find the errors that have been stored in the ECU and that have turned on the check light. Now in this demonstration we have disconnected a sensor, the map sensor of the Petrol ECU. So you can see here the error. You see P0105, manifold absolute pressure, barometric pressure circuit malfunction. Okay, and we have the check engine light on. Then in the test result you will see what we call the latent errors. So some errors that are not the ones that make the check engine light turns on, and the one that we see here is the P0110 intake air temperature circuit malfunction. I have disconnected the temperature sensor of the air of the intake manifold, and you see here a list of the error, latent error. Okay, so at last in this tab, the freeze one, you have all the condition in which was the vehicle when an error have been stored. Okay, so you see here P0105 error, the one you see here in errors. Okay, and you see all the condition in which was the vehicle when this error has been captured from the Petrol ECU. So when it happens, water temperature was, for example, 89 degrees, and the absolute manifold pressure was 10 kilopascal. The engine was stopped, so 0 RPM and 0 kilometer per hour, and so on. So you can see all the condition in which the check engine light have been turned on. This could be very useful when you make diagnosis on a vehicle that return to workshop. Then obviously, as an OBD scan tool, we can erase the errors that are stored in the ECU by clear mill. It's the same as making clear mill in the OBD adaptivity tab. Okay, it's the same command. So now we can clear the error. Okay, now we return to errors tab, and then you see that there is no more error here, and no freeze frame. Okay, no information about stored DTC. Well, here we have the vehicle identification number, so it's unique for any kind of vehicle. Okay, usually it's not so useful, but it could be used for identificate a vehicle. And at last we have the print section here. So in every page of the OBD Scan Tool, it could be printed. Okay, so if you have mainly some need about checking and saving and some condition of the car, or do you want to save some error, some freeze frame that it's particularly valuable for you, you can select the tab you want and then click on the printer icon, and you will see a little page that you can print or store or doing everything you want. And this is all. So, see you next time for further training. Bye.